Hi friends, it's Jenny, and any guesses what we're working on today? Yes, just like I did a garnet set for a birthstone set in January, I am going to be doing an amethyst set for February. There is another challenge in the Gemstone Orphanage. This one has weekly prompts. The first one was to make a bracelet with red and or pink. The second one is to make an amethyst set. The third one is to make a set, or I think a necklace with hearts. And the third one is just to make something from your stash that you've been wanting to make and haven't done. Just get into your stash and play. So it's really fun. I'm going to have a link to the Facebook group in the description below. But I thought that I would show you some of what I'm working with. I also have up here at the top of my mat a whole bunch of other amethyst. I thought I might try something. I am going to try, because as you can see, I have amethyst in all different kind of shapes and sizes. Some of them are really cool, like these daggers that I actually got from the Gemstone Orphanage from one of their yard sales. I want to say this was the Black Friday one, and I love these. I'm using a pendant that I got from Beadbox Bargains that has this, you know, like a little bit of light amethyst across the top. And then I've got these rough cut rectangles, and then I think these are my smallest ones. These are like a 3mm round. I am going to try to do this set entirely with amethyst. I might change my mind and add in some silver lined seed beads if I feel like I need to do that, but I'm going to try, guys. One of the things that I'm going to do, and I'm going to pause when I do it. I was going to show you this. So this is a little bit of a time capsule, friends. I'm not showing this to you to compare, but I am a February birthday person, and 2 years ago, which I believe was Becky's first full set February, she made this necklace and this full set, a parure, if you would, for me for my birthday. And one of the things that we talked about is I never really wore my birthstone. I didn't think purple looked good on me, but especially not like the really light amethyst. For some reason, that's what I always associated, because I don't know why. And so she made sure and used some darker or more vibrant amethyst, and these were like Malaysia jade accents in there. And she made me some earrings with her little swirls that she did. This was one of the first rings that she made, because like I said, this was from 2 years ago, and it's adjustable. It like loops back on itself here, but this was my ring that she made. And a bracelet, and there's the other earring. So it's a full set, and I just wanted to show it to you because, like I said, it's kind of a time capsule. Like this is what Becky made for me as a gift for my birthday during the full set February of 2024. We have a playlist that we're doing for this year's full set February. We also have playlists for the previous years, and you can see those links in the description below. But I just thought that you guys might like to see that. Just a little bit of a reminder that, you know, this all started because Becky wanted to be better at making rings. I'm not going to make a ring tonight. Well, I probably am not going to make a ring. Currently, I'm leaning towards taking this chunk of rough cut amethyst that I have, that I've just been carrying around. This has been in my stash for a little bit, and making like a purse charm for it. So I think that's probably what I'm going to do with this set. Similar to what I did for Becky's birthday set, where I made her a set over the summer that was done with rose quartz and peridot, because rose quartz is her favorite stone, and peridot is the birthstone, or the birthstone for August. So anyway, I wanted to show you on these daggers that I've got. I call them daggers, spears. These spears, there's varying lengths. This is not currently graduated, but I think I want to use it in a graduated style in my design. So rather than taking the time to sort that here, I did want to show it to you all on the strand and this way. I'm going to pause, get this sorted into like medium, small, and large lengths. And then we'll come back and start putting some of this together. So just a little bit of an introduction, but we'll be back to start. I'm going to start with a necklace tonight. So yeah, see you in just a moment. Okay, let's take a look at what we've got here. So I took about half of my strand of the spears. It's Sorry, thought that was ended. I've got the rest here. We'll revisit this. I have ideas for that for another part of this set, but I went ahead and got, it looks like it's about 10 pieces for each side, and I graduated them in size. Here is my pendant. I'm going to be making a double beaded bail, and this English cut amethyst that I have right here will accommodate 3 passes of my beading wire. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be spacing these out with other amethyst beads. Like I said, there's a possibility that I'll look at it and decide that I want to change my mind, but I think with all the varied sizes as well as the variety of colors of the amethyst, I think that this will work. I think that it will work. I haven't done something like this. I made a necklace when I first got started where I just used gemstones as spacers in more of like a fan pendant situation. And I didn't use any seed beads or other metal spacers when I did it. And I kind of want to try that. I want to see if I can do a whole set this way. So I'm going to go ahead and take my beading wire, and I'm going to use quite a bit of it because I want to make sure that I have enough to do what I'm doing, but I also want to, any scrap that I have is going to work into my earring design. It's been a little while since I've used a beading wire to make earrings, and I think I'm going to for this set. So I'm going to measure it for you guys. I just eyeball it when I'm doing stuff. I'm taking about 30 inches of beading wire, and this is, I'm sorry, the purple amethyst color from Soft Flex, because why not? We're doing everything amethyst, guys. Even my beading wire is amethyst. Lots of purple, guys. For someone who really thought that purple was not my color at all. But I find that I do love these darker, deeper colors of amethyst. Okay, so let's get this guy snipped open. Let me go over some of my tools. I am going to be stringing on beading wire, so I'm using my flesh cutters. I'm also using my magical crimpers, which are hiding. I don't know why they're hiding. I literally just used them. Oh, there we go. There they are. I'm recording this in the wee hours of Sunday morning, so I haven't slept yet for Saturday. So on Friday nights, late night, I used these. So I've got some magical crimpers. I've got these. Any wire work that I'm going to be doing, I'll just use my Casual Comfort pliers set. I've got round nose and chain nose pliers. I probably won't use the bent nose. I don't plan on doing a whole lot of wire work with this set. This is mostly going to be beading wire and crimps. Even for my fourth item, because we are doing Full Set February. And I haven't, for Becky, that is always a necklace, a bracelet, earrings, and a ring. And I have done some rings. I've also done a purse charm. So I'm flexible. I'm exploring what my fourth item is that makes it, you know, a little bit more than our little 3-piece set that we don't always do, but often do. Stepping it up and trying new things. I am learning new things and new techniques. So that's part of that, is that experimentation. I'm going to snip open these 3mm round faceted, micro faceted amethyst. They are, get it in addition, show you a little bit closer. This does have more in the way of like gray and brown tones in it. It is lighter in tone. And so I think it's going to be a good counterpoint and work as a good spacer with the darker, deeper, richer hues. This is one of the reasons why I feel like I can do this, because even though I'm technically using all the same stone, it's not monotone. Like, it's monochromatic because they're all shades of purple, but it's going to have some variation. So I'm going to snip this open, and we are going to work on making the bail for my pendant. It's something I really like to do with my front drilled pendants. See, they're more like gray, tiny hints of purple, but like, especially when you take them off of the string, they're very subtle. They're not as light as like an amethyst or a lavender amethyst, but they're still less, they have less of the color saturated in them. One of the things I'm going to do, because these are small beads and they have small holes, sometimes it's easier to pick up seed beads or smaller stones if you cut your beading wire at an angle. It makes a little point on the end of that. So now I've got a point on both sides of this. I am finding the center, and you can see here, this hole in this pendant is not very far from the top. But we are going to have this, I think this is an 8mm, 6mm, I don't remember. This has got to be an 8mm English cut. So I'm going to be having beads come out from this, and if I want them to bow a little bit, then I need a little bit of space between this and this. And so I'm looking at it, and I'm going to guess that I'm going to need at least 5 of these small 3mm amethyst on either side of my top focal bead. So what we're doing is, when you do a double beaded bail, you need an odd number of beads. I learned it from Lauren Fenty, and she did it using a bunch of spacers, and like an odd number of the same spacers, and then you cross the wire twice through the center bead, creating a loop after you've put more beads on the back. I'll show you. You'll see it here in a minute. Finding these holes is a little bit tricky. Like, I just pulled it off the strand, so I know that there are holes, but finding them is a little bit tricky. But one of the things that I started doing, because I was like, okay, this is the type of bail I could do, because with my metal allergies, I don't use metal bails as often. I do sometimes if I've made sure that they're safe for me to use, but I don't always. So I decided that I wanted to, instead of having to find a spacer that I could fit 3 passes of my beading wire through and have that be the same bead for the entire bail, I decided that I can have this be more flexible by choosing a decorative top bead, the one that is going to get the 3 passes. It could be larger. It didn't have to be small. It can be an absolute part of the design. And it freed me up so that I could use seed beads or other smaller sized beads on the to make the beaded loops with. So, okay, I'm trying this. I need one more of these guys to behave. Just saw the hole on this one. I swear I did. There we go. So I developed this thing, and it's kind of become, I'm not saying I created it. There are people who have certainly done this before, but it is something I really like to do. So it's become a little bit of a signature for my designs. So what I'm doing is I'm holding these together because they're going to go through the hole together. This is going to give me an idea of the form, and it is going to kind of bend back a little bit because we're going to have more on the other side, and when you actually make the bail. I think this is actually pretty good. I think this is pretty good. My dog has come in here. Let me see if I can get her to settle in here for this make. She doesn't usually come in this time of night. I'm recording at 3 a.m. She's not quite sure what to do. So give me just a moment. Well, don't threaten her with a good time. She did not want to come and lay down here. I started trying to get her settled, and she's like, nope, she just wandered away. She's an elderly dog, so she just kind of goes and does her own thing. Okay, so I think this is the size, the number of beads that I want. So this is in total 11 beads. We've got 5 of the 3mm amethyst on either side of our English cut. And then you just take both wires and put them through the hole in the front of your pendant. And I should have checked to make sure that hole was big enough to take 2 passes. They usually are. I might need to ream it. Got one side through. Feels like it's getting stuck just a little bit. Like it'll start to go in. I was not expecting that, guys. me, I have my little bead reamer right here, and yep, it's got the reaming tip. I'm just going to see if I can gently find that spot. It's like the, there we go. It, yeah, I usually don't have that trouble. That is the first time. And I don't think that was too loud. I think it's been fairly quiet when I'm using, and then my dog's back, of course. I'm just going to let her wander. If you hear little clicky claws, it's my dog being a dog. Oh, I thought I got it. I thought I got it. So there's one through. I just didn't want to overdo it. Okay, guys. Here we go. So here it is. Okay, that moved a little bit farther in. Oh no. My tip. Shoot. There we go. Okay, one more try, and then I might need to switch my pendant. I really wanted to use this one. It's the color that I liked best for this. And we have 2 through. Yay! A little bit of reaming. A little bit of reaming was all we needed. Okay, so I'm just pulling that snug. So we've gone in the front, and now we are putting 5 more beads on each of these. But yeah, it's something that I do and I like to teach, and it came up in our recent live. We haven't done it yet, but Becky mentioned making a playlist of the beaded bails, whether they're the ones that I do or ones where we've tried different variations, because we have done different styles, different lengths. Becky has done some using 2-hole or multiple hole beads, which changes the count. We're putting the same number of beads on the front and back, and that keeps this one balanced. But if you use a second hole, instead of having to make multiple passes through the same hole, then the bead sits differently, and you use different numbers of beads, different ratios, I guess, is a better way to put that. So there's some really cool, fun things that we can do with that. So we will put together a playlist, maybe in time for this video. Maybe not. I am recording at 3 a.m. and we have a live tomorrow. So I'm not sure exactly when this video is going to post, probably after the live. And it just depends on if we have time to get that set up. But it's something that a lot of people have enjoyed. You guys aren't sick of it yet, so I'm still doing it. Okay, so now we've got 5 more of the 3mm coming out the back on each of the strands. So then we're going to take this, and I'm going to take the wire from the right side. See, this is why we got 30 inches, is because I'm not going to have a 30-inch necklace. But we wanted to make sure that we had enough wire to make this bail, because we are using up probably at least 2 inches, maybe a little bit more, just making the bail. So we put it through one side, and then we're taking the other side and crossing it so it goes in where the other one is coming out, and they come out separately, just making sure they're not crossing too badly. There we go. And then you just give it a nice little secure tug, and we have a beaded bail. This is one that rides farther away from the pendant. You can make your bail smaller. You can use smaller beads like seed beads and bring it closer to your pendant. It all depends on what scale you want for the rest of your design. And I know that I'm going to be using these daggers that are going to be hanging down and kind of jutting out, and so I wanted a little bit of distance as well, because this is longer than the daggers, but not by much. So what I usually do after, let's get a little bead stop on one end, It doesn't usually work itself loose, but I don't want to have to try to rebalance things if it does. So I usually put a stopper on the side I'm not working. I'm going to string this side. This is where we are designing and we're playing and we're going to get out the different shapes and come up with patterns that we like. One thing that I like to do is take whatever I use to create the beaded portion of the bail and pop it into this little spot right here, because then it just ends up looking a little bit more finished right up against it. And it is trying to pop back out because these are bigger beads, but once we have more stuff strung on there, then it won't be doing that as badly. So, yeah. All right. Oh no, I knocked those. There we go. All right. Oh, that was this one. Okay. So I am going to play around with some of the other shapes and sizes. Coming away from that 3mm, let's get some of these rondelles. Sorry. My flush cutters don't cut string as well as they do other materials. Okay, so we've got the rondelles over here. See, they're a little bit bigger. They start to get a little bit more color saturation. And then I really like these. I'm not quite sure how they're going to work. I don't want long spaces between these right now, but I do want to play with them. These really pretty amethyst, rough cut amethyst rectangles. I like them because they feel really organic, especially with the daggers. And so I do want to use some of them. And so one of the things I was thinking about doing is going ahead and just going directly into one of the daggers. And then maybe taking a rondelle on either side of the rectangles, just to get a little bit of space. See, that's too much. It's not enough space on one side. Let's play. This is the testing things on the strand. This is auditioning on the string. This is also where I start to second guess my decision to use all the same stone. It's fine. It's fine. I want to see how it looks before I start pulling things off. Let's do... Come on. Okay. And these are, I mean, they're cool. Like, look at that. See. I could also, okay, let's kind of ignore the rectangles right now, because I think they're pushing my graduated stuff that I worked out too far out. What if we didn't use those and we just did one of these, a rondelle, the next one in the line, a rondelle, because they need space, but they don't need that much space, and I want them to be this kind of chaotic element. And I'm just grabbing the rondelles. I'm not trying to get any specific colors. And see some of the daggers, like they're drilled, some of them are drilled more in the center, some of them are drilled at the top. Most of them are drilled near the top, but it's not like super consistent. I was showing this idea to my husband earlier, and he liked the way that the daggers on the strand were all just going any direction they wanted. He thought that was pretty cool. And then I think I'm going to experiment. I think I'm going to take the bead stop off the other side, and I'm going to do this again, but with the seed beads that I'm like, I like the concept of doing this all like just pure amethyst, but I do wonder if I'm going to like it better with that bright little spot to separate things. So I'm going to do one side, get through the graduated part of it that I created from the spears. Oh, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. But let's take this bead stop off and do the same again on the other side. So getting one of the little 3mm. They're not nesting in there as well as I would like them to. That's one reason why possibly using a seed bead in that spot. You know what? Let's do that. Let's test that. All right, I've got my little silver lined seed beads. These are just 11-0 rokai, just round. And they're just these bright little things. Okay, so instead of the 3mm, I'm going to use this and then a rondelle, another seed bead. So this is also going to extend it out a little bit because we're going to have the seed beads. But this is part of like auditioning it on the strand, is like what do I actually like the look of? And I'm going to be putting just one 11-0 seed bead between each of these beads, but I am alternating between rondelles and spears. I keep calling them daggers because I think of dagger beads like a Czech dagger bead, but these are spears. Oh, and I did forget to warn you when I started this video. Oh no, I do like it better with the seed beads. It's very easy for me to adjust the other side, but I want to finish doing this and just directly compare the two. But I can already see I'm liking it with the seed beads because I like the little bit of shine that we get. Without doing heavy, like, see what I mean? That little bit of space. Yeah, that's probably going to be changed. I'll probably redo the other side. So nice idea to do it all in amethyst. I think you could, especially if, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the lighter amethyst. If you do have those, you could possibly do this and stick with the amethyst only idea that I tried. But I can already tell that I feel like the amethyst that we are putting in here is seen better. Oops, forgot the seed bead. Because it has that tiny bit of separation. Yeah, yep, I can already tell. Like I said, I'm going to finish this side and then we'll put the stopper on, fix this side so that it's the same. And I am using, because we're using this more organic shape, they will not line up exactly, but they should be close to the same length. I will check that and see if I need to adjust anything before I continue with more of the design. But I do want to do this pattern with these rondelles and daggers, rondelles and spears, I should say. That's okay. That's okay. I like this. Original idea was actually going to use, I have these Stardust spacers that are really bright, and I like them a lot. And I was going to, rondelle time. I was going to do those. I am steering clear of some of the more clear or the dark rondelles. I do want the ones that have more of the purple in them, and I'll just pull some more off the strand if I start to get low on them, just because I want it to still be recognizable as, hey, that's amethyst and amethyst and amethyst, even if I'm using these little seed beads to give them more of a moment on the strand. Okay. These are some seed beads I use a lot for this purpose. I do like to use seed beads in my strung designs. I kind of have my go-to ones because usually my strung design is like, I want specific gemstones or check glass or something to be the star. And so I will intentionally use ones that add just a bit of sparkle or a little bit of a glow, but not be one of the strong colors. But you can do some really cool stuff. And Becky just posted a video on Saturday where she used some seed beads that she got from Danielle Wicks in that collection. And yeah, I do. I like this side better. I like this side better. It's just, it's got that little bit of touch of brightness that makes the amethyst special. I also need to check while I've got this here. I think the seed bead does fill in that space a little bit better for the beaded veil. So I think that is what we're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and put this bead stopper back on, and I'm going to fix this other side. Part of me kind of wishes, because I decided to use the seed beads after all, part of me kind of wishes that I had done this with the seed beads so it would be brighter, but no, I'm keeping it the way it is. I'm not going to change that. I've done seed beads a lot there. I haven't done gemstones very much, and I wanted to with this one. All right, starting with a rondelle. And I just pulled it off the strand, so these are in roughly the same order they were before. That only really matters for the spears. The rondelles, I'm not picky about which one goes where. Just that there is one. Yeah, sometimes I get hung up on a concept, but I am always open to changing my design. As long as I have the materials to do it, I'm always open to adjusting and trying something different than what I had originally. Oh my gosh, look at how pretty this is. I don't know if you guys can see that little bit of quartz flash in there. Oh, right there. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna show. I hope that shows. It's dark, but it's really pretty. So pretty, guys. I'm gonna make sure that because I saw that on one side, because this is the front of my necklace. So I'm not being picky about very many of them, but that one I want to, since I caught that, I want it to be visible from the front of the necklace. Why string it on backwards, right? If you caught something really pretty. I'm not examining each one to look for something like that, but I'm good with this. Okay. Come on. It's easier to find the holes on rondelles, supposedly. Except I didn't need that to be a rondelle. I needed that to be a spear. That's okay, guys. That's okay. I'm all right. Oh, I got distracted. I think I didn't warn you. This is probably going to be a longer video. And that is because I am doing a full set. So there's going to be several items that I make. I'm going to try to remember to put in chapters. So if you're wanting to go to a specific part of the set or rewatch a certain part of the set, that you can. I am not as consistent about doing that as Becky is. So if I forget, I apologize. But I also hope that you enjoy watching the whole thing too, because yeah. This is one of the things I like to do, the stash challenge, because it gives me a chance to work on projects that aren't about, not necessarily about a specific or new collection. Sometimes I will use something I'm making for a collection as part of the stash challenge. Like I did that for my pink bracelet. I opened the Dee Dee's Deluxe Speed Box for February, and it was perfectly suited to do that, and so I did. And here we go. Okay, so now this is hopefully fairly even between the two sides. They have the same number of beads. They have the same types of beads. I just want to make sure that they end at roughly, oh, that is really close, guys. That's almost perfect. They end at roughly the same place before I move on to the rest of my pattern. And like I said, I did cut these extra long because I do plan on using the ends for earrings. But I'm glad that I changed and put my seed beads in. I am glad. You guys all probably were too. Because I like the dark amethyst. It was looking a little dark. Okay, so now I'm going to move into some different tones. We're not doing more of the spears because this is basically the front of the neck. I'm going to do this so that it is basically rests around the base of my neck, And this is the front of the necklace, like the front half. So what we're going to do now around the back is do some smaller smaller sections. Maybe we won't use we won't use these. I do want to use a few more of these English cut that we used here at the front. They're going to be kind of the center of whatever pattern we develop here. Let's see if I've got, where did those, there's the rondelles. Because I've also got some other strands. This has more purples and stuff in it. I wonder if I should have cut that one instead. I think they're the same size, slightly larger. But look at the pretty purples in that one against the dish. This one has some nice purples. It is still on the strand, so some of that might be a little bit off. But I think I'm going to cut into this one. And this with those and those. And let's see how that goes. Let's see how that goes. Because I want, of course, the more purpley ones are in the center of that strand. Yeah. I mean, I could just cut the whole strand and sort through the beads, but I'm already taking some time with this. For that matter, this one is already cut, and it does have some purple ones. Let's just use the same size, because these are slightly bigger. We're going to use the same size. I'm just going to pull off more of them, because I used most of the rondelles already. They got mixed in with my 3mm. Okay, I'm going to pull some more off, again, so I can kind of pick and choose some of the more purple ones. And we're going to grab some more of these little 3mm. And we are going to see about making a little pattern that starts with a 3mm, a rondelle, and then goes into a star cut. I almost feel like I need one more bead to bridge that gap. Got these guys. Actually, I have in this box, not that box, some 5mm faceted rounds. So we'll go round, rondelle, round, star cut. Let's get these guys out. Because they're also really nice. Deep purple for most of these as well. Just getting those out. A couple more right here. Okay, that's all I have left of that strand. I used some on another project. Okay, so we take that, and I'm doing less of the seed beads. I felt like they were important for the daggers, but now they're just going to separate these little groupings that I'm making. And a little 3mm. So we have this kind of undulating pattern, and then we'll put a seed bead, just one. I usually make a bigger deal of that separation, but I'm not going to on this one. I am, because this is, like I said, this is going up and around the back of the neck toward the clasp, and I want it to be pretty. I definitely want it to be pretty, but it's going to be less showy. we've got a lot of drama in the front of this necklace. I want to have less drama at the back. So that's the idea. This one. And I'm not being super picky. I mean, aside from I want color, I'm not being picky about how much color or how dark or light it is. I just want the ones that look more purple than gray. The exception, of course, being the little 3mm, because we don't really have much choice there. There's not a whole lot of purpley guys there. I think I'm going to end up with, I think, 3 of these groupings for each side. Because if you look at where the spears end here, because remember I said this is the front of the necklace, here we are coming around the side and the back. That should be relatively equal length based on where I was holding it against my neck. Let's go with this guy. All right. So I'm going to put the same on the other side. I was going to design one side and then just repeat it on the other side and pause while I did that, but I ended up testing my design on both sides, and so now you may as well just hang out with me. Like I said, it's going to be a long video. I guess I could. You don't have to be there with me to do this repeat again. I like that. I'm just taking a moment. I'm looking at it in the viewfinder on my phone where I'm recording this, because I think it gives me a little bit of perspective and distance, and I can see how it works. And I like that. I like that. Okay, I need my other bead stopper. Or rather, I just need a bead stopper. No, I may as well get both out, because I'll need both of them when I go to check the length before I do a clasp. So I might add more to this side. I'm not sure, but I'm just going to go ahead and do this undulating pattern here with a different size amethyst, and then I will be back with you to check the length and start working on finishing this necklace. Okay guys, we are going to go ahead and finish this off because, as I suspected, this is the perfect length for the fit I'm looking for, which is to circle right around to the base of my throat. I plan on using one of my favorite, I had to order more. I've only got a few left, but that's okay. I've got more coming, I think. Did I actually order them, or did I just start ordering them? I think I only started ordering them. I need to finish ordering them. Since I use the little silver seed beads, these do not look out of place. They're very blingy. I love them. They are meant to be used so they come with like a lobster claw on either side. So even if you don't make jewelry and you want to add a magnetic clasp to an existing piece of jewelry, it's got a nice strong magnet. I have never had problems with them really popping loose as long as I make sure that the fit is right. They're meant to be able to turn any piece of jewelry into a magnetic clasp by using the lobster claws, but I don't need the lobster claws. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be opening up the jump rings. Oh, no, not doing that yet. First we have to crimp, friends. Let's zoom in. I'm going to show you how we crimp. Okay, let me get out my crimp tubes. I am going to be using the magical crimper. It works best on 0.018 to 0.019 beading wire. If you're using finer wire, you want to make sure that you add extra wire when you're crimping to help fill it up. And if you use thicker wire, then you just might have a little bit more difficulty getting it to go back through. It only works with 2x2 crimp tubes, and the quality of your crimp tubes really does matter. you want to make sure that you are using crimp tubes that have a nice thick wall, that are consistent in size and shape, and that there's no seam. See that wall on there? So you're just going to feed your wire back through. Don't worry, I know I've got a lot of scrap, but I plan on doing something with that. Just going to feed that back through the crimp, pull it up against the bead. This necklace has a fixed point. A lot of times when you have a strung design, your first crimp is more flexible. You don't have to do it right up against beads, but this one you do because of our beaded bail. I am pulling that tail, getting a little loop, putting my thumb between the crimp plier and that seed bead because I don't want to crunch that seed bead. In the crimping plier, there's this round concavity, this space. That's where we're going to be forming the tube into a ball. So you'll just want to get that, make sure that that's centered. That is very important. Make sure that it's centered and that you're clear of any beads on the other side, and give it a little squish. And what it does is it pinches down those four corners and makes a little ravioli shape. So you're just going to take that, rotate it 90 degrees from where you just were, and give it another little squish. So it's, you know, straight up and down. And then just open the jaws a little bit and keep rotating it, giving it little squishes all the way around until you don't have any resistance. If it feels like it's too long one direction, just make sure that that's straight up and down on your next compression, and that dark center of that tube has disappeared and we have a little smooth ball. So you don't have to worry about crimp covers. There's nothing here to scratch and to be uncomfortable, and you can snip right up to that crimp tube. So I just use my flush cutters, flush end towards the tube, and just give it this little snip, and then my beads just slide right up where that is. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and repeat that on the other side. There's only going to be one thing that I do differently on this one, and that is that when I have done my first squish, instead of pulling it out and showing you, because I don't need to do that, I only do that when I'm demonstrating, I'm going to keep it in the pliers and just move directly to that second compression, the one that is the 90 degrees. Because I found when I was learning how to do this that it was so much easier to make sure that my tube stayed centered. I haven't squished yet, I'm just adjusting my loops before I do. And I've got a little bit of a coil on my necklace so that it's not strung too stiffly. But I am getting this in here, make sure it keeps popping back up. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and squish, and then I'm just gonna take it, open these, rotate, and go again. And it's just making sure that it stays centered, because it's really important that you start centered, but also that you stay centered for it to form properly. You're just, what we're doing is we are compressing the tube so that the edges of the tube bite down into the nylon coating of the beading wire to help it hold that crimp. And that is using the magical crimper. I'll use it again when we do the bracelet, but I won't bother going close up, but I will do it on camera so you can see that repetition. But you can see I've got these two lengths of beading wire, roughly equal, that I used, and I plan on using them to make some earrings. So we will do that after we've done our bracelet. We're going to go back out to normal range. I'm going to get out my plier set, not getting the round nose pliers, just getting the chain nose pliers and the bent chain nose. And I am taking my magnetic clasp, opening this jump ring. I'll have a link to these clasps in the description. They're a favorite, a go-to. I just order them on Amazon, but people have been asking, so I've been trying to include them in the description when I use them. So that I haven't done that all the time, but if you go to some of my more recent videos, if you see this kind of clasp, it will probably have that link in the description. It will be in this one. And then just on same thing on the other side, opening the jump ring, removing the lobster claw, and while that's open, popping on the other side of my necklace. Just making sure that's nice and closed so my beading wire doesn't slip through. That one feels like it has a little bit of a gap, so I'm just going to tighten it just a little. You just do that by, I don't know if you can see that little gap. Yeah, you can see that little gap. You just do that by gripping it in your pliers. Giving it a little wiggle while pushing it in towards the other side, and it helps to close that gap. See? That's just a gentle little wiggle to get up and meet the other metal. Okay, so we have finished the necklace. I love it. It is, like I said, it's going to fit more around the base of my throat, but I am going to make my bracelet with this same magnetic clasp, and it's going to have a lot of these same bead patterns. So if you wanted to, instead of wearing the necklace, you could combine it with, or instead of wearing the bracelet, you could combine it with the necklace and have closer to like a 22-inch necklace. Because this one is, let me get that length. Yeah, this one's about a 16-inch necklace, just past. And then plus the pendant. So, okay, let's get our beading wire back out. I'm setting aside these scraps for the earrings, which we're not doing yet. Let's go ahead and move on to the bracelet. And I'm going to keep the bracelet pretty simple because we already worked out this pattern and I really like the way that that turned out here at the back of the necklace. We're not going to bother with the daggers or a focal section. We are going to need this to be, instead of 6 of those repeats, I think we're going for 5. So I'm gonna do 5, and then we're gonna check to see the length. Because I'm using the same clasp, I can use that to estimate how much I need to add that and make it a bracelet. And then I can adjust the pattern a little bit on either end if we need to. I did set aside and then moved them. These I think are really nicely matched. We'll use those for our earrings. Look how pretty those are. Setting those up here so that I don't accidentally use them. And I think we've got enough of all of our other beads out. It's just whether or not they're purple enough. I might pull some more off the strands if I want some that are more purple. I'm a little surprised I haven't used any of the rectangles. I'm not feeling it for this design, and that's okay. That is totally okay. All right, beading wire. And this time I am going to go ahead and do it on the spool. I'm not cutting stuff off ahead of time, and I am just, whoops. I'm just starting with that same pattern that we did, which was a seed bead, a 3mm round, there we go, a rondelle, a 5mm round, and they're faceted, these rounds are, and the rondelle for that matter, and then back, and then an English cut, $5mm. That's a really light one. I'll pair it with another one. Come on. All right, and then a rondelle, a 3mm, and then a seed bead. And that is our pattern. We use that on the necklace, but in case you jumped ahead to the bracelet, this is what we're doing as our repeat. So I'm going to do 4 more of these and be right back with you. Okay, my friends, I have gone ahead and strung this for my bracelet. And to fit the way I want it, I do want a little bit more length before I clasp. So I'm just going to add a couple of seed beads to each side. So I'm going to go ahead and add 2 seed beads to this side. And then we will do our crimp. Here we go. And this is what I was talking about, how the first crimp that you do something, if you don't have a fixed point, is a lot easier because you're not having to crimp right up against beads to start with. Just get it the size that you want. And then proceed with crimping as I showed you in the necklace tutorial. If you need to review that, you can. If you had jumped ahead near the end of the necklace tutorial is when I did that crimping. And also there is a video on our channel that goes into more detail about crimping. Becky and I often demonstrate it, so you can find it in most of our strung designs. We do that demonstration. We don't do the demonstration when we're doing like a live, for example, but we do otherwise, because we never know when it's the first video that one of you is seeing. So we want to make sure that we don't assume that you know how to use all of the tools and techniques that we're doing. And then I'm just going to cut off enough to crimp on this other end. A lot less extra wire for the bracelet. I'm going to go ahead and get those 2 seed beads that I added to the other side. So I've got them on both. Like I said, it needed just a tiny bit more before the crimp and clasp. And this time, again, we are going to be right up against the beads. So I want to make sure that I've got everything in place for that. Got my necklace or my bracelet curled a little bit so that it's not too stiff. We don't like stiff bracelets. And then I'm going to do this. If I need to add additional length, I can either leave on the lobster claws from that are part of those clasps, or I can add jump rings to add additional length, but I don't think that I'm going to need them. I think I've got this size just about right. It didn't look quite round enough, so I went back in to finish rounding it. You know, you can do it in just a few presses, but I just do it until it's done, until I'm satisfied. Like I said, I check to see if my I no longer have that resistance is a big indicator, and also just the way it looks, like a nice little rounded shape. Doing this clasp exactly the same as we did the other. I'm just taking off the lobster claw, adding on one end of my strung design. Swing that back closed, make sure it's secure, and then do the same on the other side. It's picking up little bits of scrap. I have a tiny bit of purple wire that's clinging to that from when I trimmed and made the wire angled. A little bit of that was sticking to my clasp. I thought at first it was like flashing or something from the clasp itself that was sticking out there. I'm like, oh no, what's wrong? No, just a little bit of extra wire. So let's test to see if this is how I like it. I like my bracelets to fit. Oh, this is, I'm not sore. I wore a bracelet that had a little bit of dye and in the stones, and that's what happened. But I like my bracelet to be able to rotate freely around my wrist, but of course not roll off. So this is a perfect fit for me. And as I said, now that we have the bracelet done, this is how you can lengthen just dropped a bead. No idea what bead that was. This is how you can lengthen your necklace. Look how pretty that is. See, even this, like this is what you would see on the like either side of your neck. This would be around the back. If you wanted this to be a 22-inch necklace, this is how that would look. And they just look like fun decorative beads in that space between. So you can, this is slightly convertible because I chose to use those clasps. And this design especially is very, very conducive to, it can be the back of a necklace. So yeah. All right, so we've made the necklace and the bracelet. I'm gonna go ahead and wear the bracelet. Set the necklace off to the side. And I think it's time to make some earrings. Okay, so remember I said that we were gonna be using these lengths of wire. Let's see how long that ended up being. Remember, I cut 30 inches when I made my necklace. It ended up being an 18-inch necklace. And this is just over 5 inches of wire. So I was right. I used about 2 inches making that bail. So that was a pretty good estimate on my part. So these are about 5 inches. And we're going to get out our strand of spears. And I'm going to pull some off. I want 3 for each. I think this is going to give us what we need. So I want some that are slightly longer, like these long skinny ones. Those are nicely balanced. And we can do those on either side. So that's not looking how I thought it would. Hold on. Because they look different when they're on the strand. I think that works. That's the long, that's the long. Okay, move these guys. And then I've got my English cut right here. And what I'm gonna do, we're gonna need some crimps. Let me get those out. We're gonna need 2 crimps for each of these. I have done this style of earring before, but you may or may not have seen it. I basically am going to use the tension of the beading wire itself and only 1 crimp at the top to make the loop. And this bead is going to help it stay in kind of like this teardrop shape. But we want to make sure that we load this. We're not going to have a whole lot of room because this is 5 inches. You might, if you're just making the earrings and you don't have like 5 inches of scrap like I do, you probably want to be closer to 6 just so you have a little bit more room to work. But that's okay. I'm going to put a bead stopper on one end because otherwise my beads are just going to come off while I'm trying to put them together. And I'm going to do a seed bead, a spear, and I'm trying to put the longer one of the 3 for each side in the center. It will drop a little farther down. But it's not a huge deal. I don't have a wide discrepancy on these. There are some longer ones I could do, but I don't want this to be very heavy, so I was kind of going for medium to small for this. Okay, so these are going to be the bottom of our design. And we're going to take these 2 ends of the beading wire and make them a little bit off center. So we've got one that's longer than the other by about 1 inch. And then you're going to take your English cut bead, slide it down. See, this is what we're going to do. That one is being a little funky because of the way that they're hanging when they're curved. I'm going to change my spears for this one. Let me get this other one started and see if that one's a better example, because I can always do one of my earrings off camera if I'm needing to look for spears that hang at the right angle. They're not going to hang perfectly straight up and down. They just won't because they're, you know, they're a very organic cut. Get on here. All right. And we've got this one. I was looking at them while they were on the strand, but when they curve like that, they do different things. I want them to look a little bit more balanced because I'm going to have this face forward in the earring design. So I don't want it to look like it's going all skiwampus. So these ones are going to do more like what I want. So I'm going to be doing this on the other side, where as we tighten it, they're not going out at weird angles. They're going out more balanced, looking like this. All right, so I'm going to work on this one off camera, but let's do this earring design right here. So again, making sure that one of these is about 1 inch higher than the other. Get our English cut crystal, and then we're going to take the crimp tube. The first one is easy because we don't have to match it up to anything yet. When you do your second one, and I might just fiddle with it and off camera and then finish it with you because I want to show you some of the tricks. So we're basically getting 3 passes through our crimp tube right now. If you're using a copper crimp tube, those have a tendency to have thicker walls, but we want to make sure that we are having this loop and this loop face the same direction. See how you can see both of them? Neither of them are going the other way. That's because my ear wire is going to go through like this. So this needs to be open like this and this open like this. So you're going to want to decide where you want to have it. Like, do you want a longer one like this? I'm actually kind of thinking I do. So I'm going to pull this tail while holding that crimp, because that tension is going to keep this bead up here at the top. It's not really going to pull down. You can pull it down, but it's going to want to stay up there just because the beading wire is going to try to separate and do its thing. Okay, so you can see I have a little tail sticking up the top and the longer tail sticking out the bottom. This is the part that makes this loop up here. This is the other half of this loop. All of this needs to be in your crimp. I'm going to go ahead and come in close for this. Now, while you're crimping, your loop up top may try to twist. It can kind of have a mind of its own, but you want to try really hard, like I said, to make sure that your circles are facing the same way, that they're parallel. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Oh, I was not centered. Okay, this is an example of it not being centered. See how it's extra squished on one side and it's still perfectly round on this side? I was not centered. I'm going to see if I can save it. Sometimes you can save it. If not, then I will need to cut another length of wire. I'm doing a pretty good getting it saved. But you saw how skiwampus that was? Yeah, it can do that. It can do that. And if you have more bits and pieces and you're trying to make sure everything is going right, it can be really hard sometimes to make sure that it stays centered. That's why it's so important. But look, guys, it's not perfect, but I saved that crimp. I saved that crimp. In fact, you can get the little lobster claw latched on here. Do a tug test. That's holding just fine. All right. Okay, so now we're going to clean up around this crimp. And that means taking this top one, doing a little flush cut right at that crimp, and then at the bottom as well. Okay, and then let that bead, or I pushed the bead back up, but now, like I said, it wants to stay there. I'm going to get some silver ear wires. And see, I like this longer look. This is not going to be very heavy because it has a lot of open space in the design. So it's not going to be very heavy, but it's going to have some of the same feel of that teardrop pendant and the spears and stuff, that kind of elongated feel. So then I'm just going to take my ear wire, swing it open. This earring doesn't necessarily have a front or a back. It slightly curves. I don't know if you can see that. It slightly curves. Oh, I'm still zoomed in. Sorry, guys. Some of that may have been off camera. It's slightly curved, so if you want that to swing forward or swing back, you decide. I'm going to decide I want it to swing back. So I just put it on my ear wire in that direction. It's a very subtle swing back. So then we have that earring. Okay, I am going to play around with my spears and get this other one set up with the right configuration, and then I'm going to show how we balance it to make sure that when I make this one, it's the same size and shape as this one, so that they match. Because that is actually important, so I'll come back for that. Okay, these drops are behaving a little bit better. Still not perfect, but again, these are spears, so they're gonna be doing their weird thing. I'm gonna go ahead and get my crimp tube on here, just like we did on the other side, and I'm gonna feed back the longer one through so that we get our loop started. Okay, so we've got this loop at the top. We need to see, so I'm just laying this over my other one and moving this English cut bead up until it's in like the same position, like this. Okay, so this is where I'm going to want it. My loops are twisted, so I'm adjusting that. Just kind of fiddling that around a little bit. Okay, and then I'm pulling this tail, so we checked the bottom loop, and that's the crimp tube is where we want it for that to work. And I'm tugging this one to make it more similar in size to this. Just need it a tiny bit smaller. Okay, I'm letting this other one slip down. I'll check it one more time before we actually crimp. But this looks like, if we line up this loop with this loop and this loop with this loop, even if the stones aren't in the same place, these should be the same length of earring. Yeah, they'll be the same length of earring. So this is slid down a little bit so that I have room to move the crimper, but you can see I've got a problem here. I can see this circle, but this has gone straight on me. So I need to rotate it and pull the various bits of wire so that they're wanting to line up and be circle and circle again, like that. Okay, I'm just holding this in place. I'm not actually crimping yet because this upper one, it loosened up a little, and I want these two to match. So this is the tricky bit of doing this style of earring, is that there's not really an exact measurement or a mark or something to do that. So those are pretty close. Okay, all right, I am making sure that I'm centered this time. And I am. See how that's kind of like an eye shape? I don't know if you can see that. You can tell that one side is longer than the other. When I did it before, I knew that I had missed it because when I went to open the pliers to rotate it, I saw like a smooth circle on one side, which is not what you should see. Put this time. This time that crimp happened more how it was supposed to. Getting the excess wire trimmed up. And our stone back in place. And then we're going to do the same thing. Going to go ahead and open this. My loops did twist a little bit. Mostly good though. And I'm making it so that it swings back. That's what I decided to do on the other one, so I'm following the same on this one. So these have a little bit of weight because, you know, these are gemstones. But like I said, the tension of that beading wire is going to hold that English cut right up there at the top, so we didn't need to waste another crimp there. And we have our lovely little, I don't know why I keep getting stuck on spears. I keep getting stuck on daggers, but look, I actually did a pretty good job getting those matched up. So that's feeling pretty good. So we have now made a necklace, a bracelet, and earrings, and now I'm going to make a fourth item. I don't think I want to make a ring. I'm still leaning towards doing a purse charm with this guy. I'm just not quite sure what I want to do for it. We're going to use some of the same beading wire that we've been doing. And I'm just going to cut a length of it and string some stuff on it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really feeling like I need to specifically turn any of these stones into a ring. I could do that with this one and do the same style ring that I've done a couple of times. I think I am. I'm going to make a purse charm. So we're going to need a couple of more crimps. One on one end, this one, and then I've got a jumbo lobster claw that I'm going to use that we can use for attaching it to things like a backpack or a purse or just hanging near me where I work and I can just see it. And I am going to go ahead and we're going to just plan on, because crimping will take a little bit of space. I think if we cut like 6 inches with crimping, that beaded length is still going to be pretty nice. It doesn't have to be super long. So I'm going to cut 6 inches and that's just what we're going to work with. And I'll just crimp one end and then string it up and crimp the other and attach this amethyst chunk and a lobster claw. So that's gonna be pretty easy. Let's get a little crimp on here. A little bit of crimp action. See, we don't have to use a bead stop if we go ahead and just crimp one side and then string on. That's why I'm doing it like this, because I don't need to size this or fit it to my wrist or my neck. So let's do this. And I'm going to use a jump ring to attach that. That's the other reason why I went ahead and just, I mean, I could have just strung it on and then gone from there. One less point of failure, but if you use a jump ring, you can also swap things out. Like if you don't like this and you want to do something else with it, or if the clasp malfunctions and you need to swap it out. It's much easier to do that if you haven't crimped it directly on. Okay, let's play with beads. I want to use, this is a really raw shape. I think I'm going to use some of these rectangles that I wanted to use earlier and didn't. I am so going to use some of those. Let's get some of these. Getting the more purpley ones. because I can. Let's get a couple of smaller stones on first. Actually, let's do a seed bead. We're gonna use the seed beads. We're gonna use a seed bead, and then a 5mm round. I was gonna do like the 3mm. You know what? I don't want to put the 3mm on here, and that's okay. I don't have to. And then a seed bead, a rectangle, seed bead, English cut, another rectangle, just putting seed beads between each of them, getting a couple of repeats on here. I'm going to put in a little grouping of seed beads. Do 3 of those just to make a little bit of space. And then let's start with an English cut. And a seed bead, and then do rectangles. Just changing up the pattern a little bit so it's not exactly the same. Get these guys on. Yeah. And then we'll do another English cut. And I think I'm going to crimp on the other side of this English cut so that we've got a little bit of like, this is going to be the weight that is down here, but then we also are going to have like a more substantial piece near the top too. So just played around with a little bit of, you know, doing the pattern and then swapping it. And this is about the length that I want to have to work with to do a little crimp. So just putting this in here. I'm not worried about creating a certain amount of slack. I want it to have some give because, you know, I think that's just nicer. So it can be a little bit flowy. Something you can hold in your hand and kind of just play with a little bit. Oh, sorry. Bumped my light. Get that. I'm holding it but not pressing it yet. Just getting everything positioned. Making sure that I'm against that bead but clear of it. All right, make sure I'm centered and doing the squish again. And again, it looks right, feels right, continuing on. I just had that one, and you guys saw me save it. It didn't look perfect, but you'd be hard pressed just glancing to know which of those earrings it was. You'd have to look really close. And if anybody is that close to my earrings while I'm wearing them, they're not looking at my earrings. And it's Hot Cocoa Hubby. All right, get this snipped away right here. And I'm gonna get a couple of jump rings. Let's go with these guys. These are some stainless steel jump rings, so they're nice and strong, decent size. Those are probably a 5 or 6mm, I think. And I've got my clasp that I want to use right here. Yep. Let's get this baby attached. And then we're going to I'm going to pause, get my scrap cleared away, and take one last look at this full February birthstone set, my amethyst set that I did cave and included those seed beads instead of just doing amethyst, but I like it better. It was the right choice. It was the right choice. And I'm just going to make sure that these jump rings are going to hold up the way I want them to. I'm going to give it a little tug after I finish. Kind of flatten it / work hard in it. Give it a squish in my pliers. It's a little bit tricky with this big chunky boy. This is why we didn't string it with a chunky boy attached, because he wants all the attention. Come on. I'm just trying to get to the same spot where I connected them, because if I flatten them there, then it will help make sure that it's flush. Okay, so yeah. Yep, that's holding. Mostly. I mean, I was really tugging. I don't think anybody's tugging that hard on a purse charm and expecting it to hold. But this is a heavy chunk, so I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to come away easily. It doesn't come away easily, but that tugging did kind of separate the jump ring enough that I need to make sure that it's fully closed again. So, do with that what you will. You might use different jump rings if you expect to have more, not abuse, but more tugging. Like if this is going to go to a kid, because kids can be rough with things. We all know that, as a backpack charm or something like that. That's pretty. That's fun. Okay. I'll be right back, and we'll take one last look at the set that I made tonight. Okay, guys, I'm back, and as you can see, I cleared away most of our debris. Sorry for the shaking camera. Stop. Okay, so first we made our necklace with this amethyst pendant, the amethyst spears, rondelles, and these 3mm rounds, plus some of our star cut and some 5mm rounds, and a sparkly clasp. And then we made our bracelet that matches and can also be used to extend the necklace because it is such a nice match. And then we made our earrings. You can see I did that second earring. I did come back and do that with you after I'd fiddled with the spears a little bit, got them to line up a little bit better. And then for my fourth item, I made this purse charm. And I did it. I completed the challenge for this week, which was to create an amethyst set. And this is my 6th full set for Full Set February, and I am halfway through the month. I wasn't planning on doing that many right away, but I'm like, I should do a full set with that. I should do a full set with that. I should do a full set with that. So I'm going crazy. Becky's doing 2 a week. I didn't really set myself a goal. I just kind of left myself open. Becky had mentioned one of the things that you might do is maybe do a full set for every box that you get. And that's kind of what I've been doing, but also doing some stash full sets like this amethyst one. I've got another stash make planned for later in the month. And it is probably going to be a full set too. Just saying. But anyway, all of the relevant links are going to be below. If you want to join the Gemstone Orphanage Facebook group and participate in the stash challenges, you are rewarded with basically currency you can use to go shopping in a certain section of the Gemstone Orphanage website. So some special things that are put there as rewards that you can spend your, what they call party bucks on. Plus they do a drawing at the end of the month and usually have a giveaway during their live. So that is another really fun thing. But I just wanted to do this, and I'm really glad that I did, because it's really cute and fun. And I got to use the spears. I'd never used spears before, and I got to use them for this, and that was a lot of fun, and I'm glad that I have them. And yeah, there are going to be links in the description for that Facebook group, but also for our Full Set February, including the previous years where, like I said, this was one of the ones Becky did in 2024 as a gift to me. So now I have made my own amethyst set. I have 2 full amethyst sets. And anyway, I hope that you had fun with this. If you hung out for the whole video, thank you. If you jumped ahead and saw bits and pieces that you wanted to watch, also thank you. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you want to see more, hit like. If you liked this, hit like. If you want to see more, subscribe. And as always, my friends, happy beading, and don't forget to play. Bye!